Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to be all about this month in Dragalia Lost for the month of May 2021. It is the start of a new month today, and that means the game's director, Okada, has a lot to say about what's to come in the month ahead, and often teases things in his monthly news post about things to come for the game's future as a whole. So we're going to read through all of that today, take a look, see what's up, and hopefully we get some juicy info on the Fire Emblem reruns that are happening as part of the event Compendium. Maybe we'll find out some more about future endgame content and future events as well. That is the plan for today. Basically just going to read through, I'll give my impressions, reactions on everything. Of course, with it being the start of a new month, the Void Battle treasure trades have reset, as have the Astral Raid treasure trades. And we have a lot going on in Dragalia Lost right now as a whole, with a couple different dream summons, the Rage of Chronos event, and we also have Jaldabaoth, our new endgame content that I checked out yesterday. I posted my first clear video of Master, have been playing that a little bit, but haven't checked out too much of the high difficulty co-op, just done standard so far. But I've heard really good things about it, very positive impressions I think compared to Lilith. So we'll also talk about that in this video if it's not mentioned directly in this month in Dragalia Lost. Alright, let's click in here and see what Director Okada has to say. I suppose first of all, let's start with this because this is sort of an accompaniment to this month, but it's related to the Rage of Chronos event. Every day for a few days, we're going to get a lot of Ethon Ashes, Exquisite Honey, and a couple summon vouchers, which is pretty nice. Let's click in here to this month now, and as always, Director Okada starts off by thanking us for playing Dragalia Lost, never misses a beat with that. He's excited to bring us the latest news on what's happening in the game, and the first portion here is about Rage of Chronos. So the adventurers Vania and Grimnir and the Dragon Rose Queen appear in the event. To celebrate the event, they've added a unique voucher, the Spring 2021 Dream Summon voucher, to the Gold Emblem rewards that are available from this event. This voucher allows you to summon one adventurer or dragon of your choice who appeared in the game between its release and May of 2020, excluding those who appeared in Gala Dragalia or for a limited time only. Note that we do not plan on making this voucher obtainable after the event is over, so be sure to grab it while you can. So in case you've missed this and are not aware of this, you get to pick a character of your choice, an adventurer or a dragon. This is super awesome. We've never seen something like this for free-to-play players. So if you are away from Dragalia and somehow checking out this video, you've missed my last couple of videos, make sure you log in and play this event. It's definitely worth it to pick a character of your choice. And if you're somebody who is missing out on characters who are really good for auto battles such as Grace, this could be a really valuable opportunity to pick them up. We have really strong dragons available for free to unbind in the Draconic Essences now, with GNC and Azazel both there, Azazel being important as a complement to Grace. So I think if you're still working on Agito content, or even High Dragon content, she's a character you could strongly consider dream summoning. Last year I did a Dream Summon video collab or discussion with Orthodox on the channel, so I'll link to that in a card in the corner of the screen. If you want to check that out, all those characters that were in that Dream Summon, with the exception of a few limited characters that were present in that, are also going to be in this Dream Summon. So if you're interested, check that out. If you have questions about who to Dream Summon, leave a comment below, and I'm sure others and I will try to answer you and give you some advice, because at the end of the day, Dream Summons are kind of a mix between personal preference and strategic value. Sometimes you do want to go for those key missing pieces like Grace that can make your lives a whole lot easier for clearing content and are a big quality of life improvement. I should say that with Grace's life shields, those don't seem to work in the Sinister Dominion based on the two fights that we have so far and Curse of Nihility, so that is a real concern for future content. But if you're still working on the Agito, she's a very legitimate choice. But sometimes you want to pick for strategic value like that. Other times it's a more personal choice and there's just a character you've really wanted, you've had your eye on for a while, maybe you didn't have the resources to summon them at the time, and there's no fault in going for that either, especially if you have a pretty good grasp of current endgame content and you're not necessarily looking for a particular character to push you over the top in any particular element. So I've gone both ways in the past. This time around, for the free Dream Summon, I'm only missing Tieshan Gongju and Chelsea, and I will probably get Chelsea just because I favor adventures over dragons, especially one with such a unique playstyle as Chelsea. And then for the paid Dream Summon, which is also happening, that features characters after May of 2020 as well, I'm looking at Formal Hakim and maybe Irene. I like Irene's design more, but Formal Hakim, his shared skill is just so good. I don't have any Wind Mana caster. My other choice there is Faris, because I don't have a Flame Mana caster, and I think since the Apostles play such a central role in the Sinister Dominion, I kind of just want to have him in my collection for that reason, just because I think it'd be cool to have those characters and get to use them to face off against the different Dominion bosses. Of course, it doesn't work out perfectly well because, for example, the counterpart to Nevin's dragon Ramiel was Lilith, but Nevin doesn't really get used in that fight because of the elemental alignment there. So I think it'd just be fun to have the Apostle characters anyway. And so right now I'm split between those three. Probably going to end up going with Formal Hakim, but you can hang on to that decision until you do your free summoning, because remember, there's still free daily singles. You never know who you might get on those, and I've already heard from some players who did their dream summon, and then literally the next day, they pulled that character that they were dream summoning for. So don't let that be you, and I'm so sorry if that happens to you. I know for some players, it doesn't matter. They want their character ASAP, and they're gonna pull anyway on the dream summon. So yeah, if that's you, that's fine, but just be prepared for that, because that must be pretty crushing when that happens. And I think it's happened to me at least a couple of times, or at least once, I want to say. So yeah, be careful about that. Anyway, let's move on to more about the Rage of Chronos event. Fans of the Japanese voice lines may be interested to know that the event's theme song, Sample Answer, was sung by none other than Grimnir's voice actor, Megumi Okada. Wow, I didn't know that, but I do like the music for this event. Vania and Gala Reborn Agni appear in a Gala Dragalia that began on 4/28. You may notice something special about the appearance of the projectiles fired by Vania's normal attack. I hope that new and existing fans alike will enjoy her debut in Dragalia Lost. Yes, so Vania has really cute little bats kind of on her basic wand projectiles. They look sort of like little energy bats that fly out. It is the perfect fit for her character. I feel very fortunate to have summoned her already. And yeah, I used her in Alberian Battle Royale, haven't used her much outside of that, but immediately built her up. And I still don't think that she's like a must-have character, but after playing through the event and seeing how core she was to everything happening in the plot and how adorable she was, I really grew attached to her quite quickly. So I think that she's a super appealing character. Haven't read her adventure story yet, but from the first chapter it said that it has some things related to Urias as the spoiler preview on that, so I'm excited to read that. I didn't realize they were that closely connected. So the other day I posted an Alberian Battle Royale video where Urias was my final opponent, and I made reference to the connection between them. I didn't know it was actually that deep, but apparently there is something deeper there. So yeah, looking forward to reading that. As for Gala Reborn Agni, I think that I probably will do some summoning here. I'm not at a point, I don't have Gala Leonidas, so personally, I'm not quite at a point where I can comfortably auto expert Jaldabaoth just yet. I can do it, but it's not that consistent without him. There's lots of different issues that will crop up, like my characters congregating away from some of the AI, or some of the enemies that they need to defeat, rather. And then the tome counter ticking down for Jaldabaoth. So I've heard Gala Leonidas is excellent because he has really big AoEs that can hit the whole screen. He's also better at breaking the boss because he's a rapid fire mana caster, so less often are you experiencing the sequence where the boss will double summon in the second phase. If you're not aware, what happens is the boss will summon a Void Agni, and if you defeat him and everything, if you don't break his tome right away or break him, he can start the summoning loop again, which is very time consuming. So yeah, Gala Leonidas just seems excellent for that, but me not having him, I'm thinking I want to increase my firepower as much as I can, although Agni himself probably won't make that big of a difference for me. Right now, the setup I'm using is basically a Naveed lead, and then Halloween Lowen, Nobunaga, and Panther. And it's okay. I've tried throwing in Kimono Elisan. I've tried throwing in Gala Mim. I have a couple Flame Lances. I actually crafted a second one because yesterday Volk was on double drops for co-op. And I've tried throwing in Nadine, whose energy doesn't work out that well and self-buffs don't work out that well, but she does hit a really wide area. So that's kind of nice for defeating the mobs. But yeah, so far not a whole lot of success. I can chain together like 3 autos in a row sometimes, but it feels a little too unreliable. So I think I'm going to try go for some powerful flame adventurers and dragons as they crop up. We'll talk more about the prospects for when Leonidas will be back as we scroll through the news here. So let's move on to plans for this month. The adventurer Grimnir and Dragon Rose Queen will appear in a prize showcase starting on May the 3rd, 2021. And for further details like their stats and skills, please see the corresponding in-game notification. Alright, prize showcase making a return. They're sprinkling these in with a good cadence to tempt players and make them feel like even though it's not a gala, what they're summoning on is worthwhile. I have said in the past and stand by the point that for most prize showcases, the drop rates on the prizes are too low to really influence your decision of whether or not you should summon. But I do think that if you really want Grimnir or the Rose Queen, that's a nice consolation prize, and it does make it feel slightly more productive than were it just a normal showcase. I think these split banners that we'd seen in the past where it's part 1 and part 2 and they're both regular showcases just felt so bad to summon on, and the prize showcase and gala split is somehow more acceptable in my mind. Both of them feel like a high quality showcase, so I'm less upset by the fact that yes, they did split out Vania and Grimnir and Rose Queen. Well, Grimnir and Rose Queen being together, but in past banners, like all the new things were on one banner. So yeah, it's probably not ideal compared to how it had been in the past, but I think it feels a little bit better. So it's a step in the right direction, and the prize showcases, when you do get a sweet prize, it does feel very satisfying. So looking forward to seeing what Grimnir and Rose Queen do. And in case you missed it, Grimnir's Lance weapon skin is the skin for this month in the Alberian Battle Royale. So make sure to check that out. It's going to be back tomorrow, Sunday, and then it's throughout the week, 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. It's good rewards. You get honey, you get Eldwater, you get Orichalcum, and you can earn weapon skins. Now the amount you have to play is less compared to what it was in the past. They're swapping the dragon over to Azazel. So it seems like just the right amount of development resources are going into this now, where we're not getting as frequent or flashy updates, but for the players who do enjoy it and for those who just want the free stuff, it's a little bit more accessible than it has been in the past. Moving on from that, in May, Kamui's Trial, Chthonius' Trial, and Mars' Trial will be added to Trials of the Mighty, where you can earn materials for unlocking the mana spirals of Nurse Eileen, Gala Alex, and Okada Cassandra, respectively, from the daily bonus. Unlike the trials last month, you can earn materials for both Gala and non-Gala adventures this month. Well, that's really fascinating, because the mix of non-Gala adventures they've included here certainly surprises me. When they said non-Gala adventures were going to be included, what I was thinking was maybe some other story adventures that everybody has, such as Alex or Laxi, who still don't have their mana spiral yet. Maybe throw Zaina in there. Maybe throw the most recent story adventure, Chell, in there as well. So I thought it would be more of a way to enhance characters that are in everybody's collection. As it turns out, it's actually going to be some gacha characters, which gives it more of a random feel to me that is odd. Like, it's odd that only these characters show up when Eileen and Cassandra aren't particularly important to like the overall story or the main big picture of Dragalia Lost. Yes, Cassandra has a little bit more going on with her connection to Audric, and Eileen's a popular character too. And I think it's great that they are getting mana spirals, so I want to say that. Nurse Eileen is a good healer for Lilith Phase 2, and this should make her a better healer for that. And then Okada Cassandra, her overdamage shared skill is excellent. She's a good healer. If you are going to take a healer to Jaldabaoth, she's a good healer. she can get the job done. She does fall asleep sometimes, and she's not as comfortable as Lowen, but you've already seen out there master clears where people are running no healer, so certainly you can use her and clear just fine, or you could use her shared skill. The overdamage shared skill works well with things like Seimei that want to have a high hit count, so happy to see them getting mana spirals. They're Okada Cassandra more than Nurse Eileen, but they're characters that I'm glad to use. Nurse Eileen, I just say that because I haven't fully invested in her yet. And then Gala Alex is a character that I don't have a lot of love for. I didn't get her early on, have never really used her. I don't understand how to use her. So that's just me. That's my unique problem with Gala Alex, but I know a lot of players love to use her, so glad to see she's getting a mana spiral. And then it's Kamui, Chthonius, and Mars. So far with the Trials of Mighty, we've seen that they're not the hardest thing in the world, but they kind of give us something to do. The fact that the Endeavors came back this week with Thor is a good way to ensure a more steady stream of Wyrmite for players too, which I kind of like. So I'm happy to see them come back. It gives you something to do. Stamina costs for quests have gone down now, so you have more room in your budget every day to play this content. And Kamui, Chthonius, and Mars are fights that I'm looking forward to from the campaign that I don't remember all that well. I don't play these that often, but considering we have these unique boss fights, it seems like a good way to actually provide some shine on these boss fights, so I like that. When it came to the first round, with Zephyr and Poseidon, those I feel were a little bit lackluster just because it's like they're already Void bosses. But in the end, at least for Poseidon, he did feel pretty mechanically distinct. Zephyr started to bleed a little bit more into what Void Zephyr already does, even though he has some red tells and some other things that make him slightly unique still. I mean, he is unique, but like he just feels mechanically very similar to the original. Poseidon felt kind of different. But these are fights that don't exist in Void Battle Variety, so I think all of them should feel pretty good to do. So yeah, cool, good stuff. Glad to see Trials of the Mighty getting expanded. One thing to consider here, though, is for most players, we haven't finished our mana spirals on Gala, Yuden, Ellie, and Ronzel yet. And now we're getting 3 more, and we're getting 3 more of these in May, so if they stagger them week by week, we may not have that many opportunities to go back and finish those past mana spirals because the conviction items and devotions are tied to the daily bonuses. So we'll have to see what they do here. Maybe for Nurse Eileen and Cassandra, they won't treat it the same way with the daily bonus. It feels a little off to me that they would have the conviction and devotion items since they're not Gala adventurers. Like maybe just give them a regular mana spiral but release it coinciding with these trials. And it does say you can earn materials for unlocking them, so to be clear, I think they'll probably will have the same conviction and devotion system. But then again, these quests drop tier 3 rainbow orbs that are also used for unlocking mana spirals, so it could be interpreted that way too. But yeah, I think they're going to be part of this long-run mana spiral process that we've seen with the Gala Adventures, where it's really a grind over multiple months now to actually unlock them. Okay, so moving on. A defensive event that features the adventurer Saiga, whom you may remember from his brief introduction in the most recent episode of Dragalia Digest, will start on May 10th. He'll be joined by an existing adventurer in a new, heavily armored outfit. I hope you're looking forward to learning more about Saiga and his past when the event becomes available. Okay, so this is an interesting one. I don't know who that other adventurer could be. So when you look at Saiga, clearly he looks like a wind manicaster, which is pretty sweet. So that's a consideration right now for me with my dream summon. Do I want to go for Formal Hakim? Am I going to want to summon for Saiga instead? I would say that Saiga is not a character appearance-wise or design-wise that like speaks to me in a way that I feel I must have him. But remember, these mid-month events are typically going to be associated with a Gala Remix showcase. And we're running out of past Gala adventurers that haven't run on a remix before. So far, we've never gotten the same Gala adventurer on a remix twice. And there's only 3 or 4 Gala adventures now that haven't been rerun on a remix, those being Gala Leaf, Leonidas, Chell, and Notte, if you want to count Notte, her being the most recent. So I think that this would probably be Gala Leaf here, but if this is Leonidas, maybe I really want to summon on this. And if they really want to rearrange the order of release, it could also potentially be Chell or Notte, but they're more recent, so I kind of feel like that's less likely. It hasn't gone in chronological order in the past. Last month, we got Laxi for our remix, but Leaf was actually older than her. So I think that this will probably be Leaf and Saiga and not Leonidas and Saiga, but they could switch up the order here potentially. And then the other adventure in the heavily armored outfit, that makes me wonder if they'll be on the same banner or they'll be on a follow-up banner afterward as sort of a part 2 to this. If they're on the same banner, that would be good, but it may not be the case. They could also start throwing in Gala dragons into the remixes. Like Gala Zephyr is a powerful dragon that not a lot of people have because of his release window and the fact that he is the only Gala dragon, I think, that didn't have an adventure on the banner too. So he came out like right between Christmas and New Year's, just a really awkward time with all the limited banners happening around then. There was no adventure on the banner to sort of tempt you in. He's a pretty good dragon, so maybe they could start throwing those on here. But as for the character with the heavily armored outfit, obviously one of the first things I think about is Berserker, because that's kind of Berserker's normal outfit and hunter outfit. But he already has an alt, and I don't think that he's in the upper echelon of popular characters, so I would be sort of surprised to see him get another alt here. With Saiga being associated with Hinomoto, it makes me think that it might be a Hinomotoan character, and the one that comes to mind is Taro. Taro has armor that is from a family member. I think it was his father's armor, and it's a really precious item to him, but he's kind of a cowardly character as well. But he has this armor, and I don't remember a lot of details on his story. It's been a long time since I read it, since he was a release adventurer. But he's certainly a character I could see making an appearance in an event like this. The other character I think of that I associate with armor is of course Malka from Armor's Aspirations, and he's a forge master, makes armor. So it could be him too, but he feels less connected to what's going on in Hinomoto. So I don't know which existing adventure will be. They could also just throw an existing adventure into armor, like imagine Mitsuhide in like a mech battle suit or something. I could totally see it. Are there any other characters that I'm leaving off here? I'm sure there are, but let me know your theories in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you think about this. I would not have predicted, even when we saw Child Ronzel last month, I would not have predicted Humanoid Mercury, although I guess I sort of did predict that, but actually getting her as a playable adventure, I mean, I was predicting that as a wild theory, and then it actually happened, so who knows what this will be. Okay, so moving on, the Agents of the Goddess Facility event will return on May 17th. Be sure to construct the facility that boosts the HP and strength of adventurers who wield axes or staffs. So this is a good one to see rerun, considering the prominence of the Agents of the Goddess and Divine Deception events and the Apostle characters in both the main campaign and Sinister Dominion. And so I think they're going to need to bring this one back. Not regularly, because you can't rerun events that often, but like I think they'll bring it back here, and maybe we'll see this in the Compendium sooner than some of the other facility events that are still missing, just because of the relevance to the plot. Glad to see this one come back too, has really good music, so looking forward to that. And then the Fire Emblem Lost Heroes and Fire Emblem Kindred Ties events are going to be added to the event Compendium the same day, it looks like. So those events are only going to be solo. I hope that it's a reasonable amount of effort that you have to put in to clear the content in these events. Love that they're available on a permanent basis. It's going to be fun for new players to check out the stories. It's going to mean, presumably, that Alphonse and Sharina are added to the collection of adventures that are available to all players, which is a pretty big deal. Mordecai and Audric being in the Compendium is actually relevant for a lot of free-to-play only clears. They're both powerful adventurers. Alphonse and Sharina likewise are good adventurers. Sharina has her special co-ability and chain co-ability combination. Alphonse has a mana spiral. One thought with this is, are they going to go through the effort and give a mana spiral to Sharina and the Gen 2 Fire Emblem characters as part of this? There's also no mention here exactly of how the banners are going to rerun for this, so that is unclear too. From reading this, I know in the Dragalia Digest, I think they said the characters will be back to summon, but I don't think they said when. So it'll probably be around the same time, I would imagine, but it could be later. And the other big mystery here is, is there a part 3? One thing that is conspicuously absent from this month in Dragalia Lost is the big end of month event. Every month there's always one marquee event at the end that's new, that has new music, that usually gets a YouTube trailer, and that's nowhere to be found here. So like for this month, it was Rage of Chronos, and that happened just at the end of April, going into the start of May. So presumably after this Agents of the Goddess rerun ends, and after we've had like a week or so, or 2 weeks to go through Fire Emblem Lost Heroes, week and a half maybe, we're probably going to get some other big event, and maybe it'll be Fire Emblem 3, who knows. And then from there, we also find out Time Attack Challenges event is coming back. That will pit us against water-attuned enemies in late May. So I guess that's probably Ciela. That would be my guess, because unless they're doing like water-attuned enemies. So that would be Phase 2 Jaldabaoth. That seems unlikely. So I think that's got to be Ciela. What I was gonna say though was, if this starts on 5/17 and runs for about a week, then this will probably start when that ends and run for about a week or so also, which would mean like maybe on the very last day of the month we get a brand new event. Part 2 of Chapter 19 of the main campaign is also being added in late May. Legend difficulty is being added in late May for Ayaha and Otoha's Wrath. Good to see this happen, and we've known that this is sort of going to happen, the cadence of new Sinister Dominion interspersed with new Legend difficulty content for the Agito. One of the things that I'm happy about with this, though, is last year when Ayaha and Otoha released, I was taking a break from YouTube for like a couple weeks, so I didn't actually get to participate in this too much at the time it came out. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting to check that out more in a more timely manner when other players are doing so as well. Ayaha and Otoha is a battle that I did the majority of my play in solo and auto. My first clear was in solo, and I never touched it in co-op because at the time, you didn't have to do co-op and solo separately, as you do now after version 2.0. So literally this fight I had never done in co-op until after the second anniversary of the game, and I still don't really play this very often now because now there's reliable builds with 2.0 being as strong as it was, reliable builds to auto master, auto expert. So I rarely touch Ayaha and Otoha, and this is going to be an interesting one since mechanically you still have the buffs. There's no Curse of Nihility. Karina's very strong. What I'm hoping for that I think would make this feel really cool is in the Berserk phase, if Ayaha and Otoha split up again. I just think that would be, it would make it kind of interesting. Like Ciela showed us, Berserk doesn't always have to be about no-tell purple attacks that kill you in one shot. Berserk can also be about defensive stacking and AI manipulation and all sorts of other things. So I feel more optimistic about the future of the Legend Agito fights. Obviously there's only 2 left, but I think that Ciela, they really improved upon her master design. I know for a lot of players they don't like the AI manipulation, they feel like it's too RNG dependent. I think that by playing it over time, I've come to the point where regardless of the RNG, if I play carefully and manage my AI carefully, I know that I can consistently win. If I make mistakes, I'm going to be punished and I'm not going to necessarily win. So it's not the most forgiving fight. It needed a lot of dispel, and it was kind of obnoxious for those reasons, but it definitely arrived at a place where I really liked Legend Ciela more than I expected to, and liked it a lot more than Master Ciela. Now for Ayaha and Otoha, I think there's a pretty big player base out there that liked this fight and said that this was like their favorite or second favorite Agito, especially the players who were not as into the Karina strategies. Like I know a lot of players just like water adventures and use a variety of different water adventures. So hopefully this gives them something to enjoy. Okay, I think that's it for plans for this month, so let's read future updates now. The suggested teams feature was added, although it can only be used to see top performing teams in solo quests. They plan to expand its functionality to co-op in the future. From what I can tell, if you use a team, it gets added there, regardless of whether it's actually a good team for the content that you're doing. So I don't know if this just shows the most recent teams to clear. That's what it looks like from my perspective, but I don't know if other players see the team I use or if it gets vetted somehow before it gets to them. But yeah, this feature, I'm not really planning on doing much with it. Well, maybe it would make for an interesting video, actually, to just sort of see what's going on with people's suggested teams once the co-op variant comes out, so maybe I would consider doing something like that. In the next update, we plan to reduce the number of daily bonuses for Dragon Trials and the Imperial Onslaught to 1, but increase the amount of rewards you earn from each. We recently reduced the stamina cost of many quests, and we hope that these changes will make it easier for players to tackle the ever-growing amount of content in a timely manner. Sure, I'm all for this. It has gotten to the point where this is probably the right call. Back in the day, we had like multiple daily bonuses for Elemental Ruins. They got rid of that. They reduced the amount of bonuses for some of the other content. And I think that this is also the nail in the coffin for co-op Imperial Onslaught. With the reduced stamina cost and now only needing to do it once a day, I don't think as many players are going to be going there to spin their 2 wings just to uncap their wings. So I think that that's going to be solo primarily going forward. And it's still pretty rare to find co-op rooms for that, but if you just sort of sit there for a while, you can find a co-op room, or if you do it around the time of dailies, there's still players like myself that will jump in for 2 of those a day. I think from here on, it's just going to be part of the daily auto battle solo play. Okay, so we'll add a new feature to Notte's notes called Medals. These medals will be awarded to individual adventurers each time they clear quests like Advanced Dragon Trials, the Agito Uprising, and Rise of the Sinister Dominion. Although these medals will not provide any stat bonuses, we hope that players will enjoy seeing another tangible measure of their roster's development. Perhaps you'd like to challenge yourself to earn a certain amount of medals with a specific adventure, or even with all of your adventures. The choice is yours. So this is sweet. I hope this is retroactive, but based on the other releases in Notte's notes, I doubt it will be. I would love for these things to be retroactive just because I think that moment of discovery of unwrapping your encyclopedia and seeing like, hey, who did I clear this stuff with? Oh, I forgot I used them, huh? Or, oh, I guess I used this character a lot and like they're the only one that has medals. Nobody else has medals. I like that aspect of this type of information tracking. So I know the Dragalia devs have a lot of data on what we do. They've been able to compensate us exactly in the past when they've done currency conversions or rate conversions on summoning. So I feel like they have the information, but it also just might be too big of a lift to where it's not worth the resources to do that, and it's better to just have it going forward. I totally understand that. So if that's the case, then it gives more of an endeavor aspect to this, like not a literal endeavor in the sense of Dragalia Lost where you get rewards, but it gives a purpose or quest for players to complete some of these medals for their favorite characters or all the characters. This might be a future series in the making as well, of trying to go through and fill out my encyclopedia with all the different medals. Probably be a little bit too long-winded because there's a lot of adventures, there's a lot of endgame content, and that would mean, let's see, Advanced Dragon Trials, Agito Uprising, Rise of the Sinister Dominion. So each of those is probably going to have 5 battles by the time Sinister Dominion's done. I wonder if you're going to get a medal. Like, will I get a medal for clearing, I don't know, Master Difficulty of Volk with Eleonora? Is that its own medal? Or is it like, I cleared any Agito Uprising with Eleonora, therefore I get a medal? Because if they do it by difficulty and by element, that's a lot of medals to think about. Maybe it'll just be for like, clearing the opposite element. I don't know. But it could balloon pretty quickly here. So yeah, this is kind of cool. I think it's a cute little system. In addition, I know players are probably going to want to enjoy earning these, so I like this. It seems like a relatively low effort addition that creates some fun moments for people. And then I think this is the last thing. In the next update, we plan to add the previously announced features that allow you to automatically unlock up to a specific mana node or even all 5 of an adventurer's mana circles at once, and view and upgrade all of your facilities from a single screen. Good deal. More of a UI quality of life change, but happy to see it. In conclusion, thank you for reading this month's update. We're giving all players the following gift for this month. So 2 Champion's Testaments and 3 Sunlight Ore. Our next installment is going to be June 1st. And that is pretty much going to do it for this month in Dragalia Lost, everyone. I think if there's anything left that I want to discuss, it's mainly about Jaldabaoth. I uploaded my Master Clear video yesterday, but didn't include any commentary on that, and it was a first clear, so it was pretty messy. It's a very fun fight, and I suggest that you actually go in here, and if you're looking to learn more, struggling with the mechanics, one of the first things that I would suggest you do, and you can see here what I've completed. Haven't tried this, but I've tried Standard. But click here on the details page. This is very informative about what the mechanics are. So this helped myself, and I know a lot of other players, get their Master Clear within 1 or 2 attempts. Very low difficulty compared to Lilith. There's things I like and dislike about this. I love the mobs. I love the enemies spawns, because that is something really special to Jaldabaoth. One of the things that surprised me, though, reading through this, was Creeping Corrosion, to be honest. So I thought that this was Lilith's special mechanic. Because Lilith doesn't really have anything else going for her too much, other than just having, wings that you can break, and those raise her affliction resistance. So I did not expect this to come back, particularly because we had a notice board explicitly telling us Curse of Nihility is a Rise of Sinister Dominion thing. I thought that if this was coming back, we would know about it, or it would be coupled with such a post. So this was the big surprise here to me. And as I said, you don't need a healer for this content, but most players are going to use a healer. It's exception, not a rule, to not use a healer. And so this was kind of a little bit of sticker shock of oh man, that means I'm going to use Lowen again for more content when I have to throw him onto all my other content. And to be fair, I don't use him that much. I mean, I use Ori and other flame healers too, but yeah, seeing this Creeping Corrosion was one of the things that disappointed me a little bit, just because I feel like that made Lilith somewhat special, that sense of a clock ticking. And here I thought that could already have been achieved just fine via the summons, because they already create a lot going on. But from what I've played of this fight so far, the amount of Curse of Nihility and the amount of corrosion doesn't feel as extreme. It might be because I'm playing more of Expert than Master right now, but mechanically the summons is really cool. It's like a cross between an old school facility challenge battle like Topstar Trial and a little bit of Elysium, because you have the points where, let's see if it's on here. Yeah, you have this Tome of Creation where sometimes a specific one of the summons, such as Void, Nidhogg, or Agni, will need to be defeated, or the Catoblepus, and until you defeat them, the boss is invulnerable, so that's very similar to how Elysium works. And then you also have a little bit of Lilith in here with the corrosion and the Nihility, so it feels like a hybrid of a lot of different bosses. Of course, the amount of minions on screen is very bad for my device health, because my whole recording setup just starts to freeze up. And even when I'm playing on my phone, if enough summons are on screen and I'm not recording, it still gets really bad. So that is one thing that's a little unfortunate with this. It causes sleep, bog, and then anything else here to point out. Tome of Destruction is an interesting one. So this I didn't actually experience until I started practicing with Otto. But if you don't defeat enemies within their timer above their head, then this Tome of Destruction ticks down. So it starts with 10 in solo play, and every time you don't defeat an enemy, it will go down by 1, and if it goes to 0, Jaldabaoth does a screen-wide attack, and it KOs everybody. So this is also what makes it so that other elements are less effective outside of Master difficulty. Yep, exceptionally powerful attack. Marking's a new thing that he does too that can't be dispelled. pretty cool boss overall. Let's take a quick look at the Wyrmprints. I know we're running a little bit long here for this month, but with this new boss fight having just come out, and I probably won't have a lot of time to make a separate video, I thought that it'd be worth it to go into this. So let's start here. Wind of Oaths. This is a new Wyrmprint that I think provides burn res via this affinity and gives you skill haste. Good to see skill haste in this additional Wyrmprint slot. Happy about that one. This next Wyrmprint here has the Axe affinity, which gives Broken Punisher and gives skill damage. So this is potentially the best of the 20% skill damage prints that we've seen. The other ones, like Tutelary's Destiny here, and this one, Crown of Light, they give specific affliction resistances to stun and curse, which can be good, but if you don't need that, and if you just so happen to be able to set up the Broken Punisher Axe affinity, especially in the future if we get an Axe Psalm effect, that's pretty good. And then Savage Hawk, love that they included Hawk in here. This one is Sword Psalm, but with a 4-strike affinity to Lance's Boon. So going to be better on some characters that are already running like Flurry Strength and a 4-strike print. If you are going to use the other Sword Psalm that gives a bow affinity, you can use this one instead. And then this print, Savage Hawk, with the bow affinity gives Stormlash Punisher. I actually think that this is going to be also a pretty nice pickup once we get Wind to have its additional Wyrmprint slots. For now, Stormlash isn't something so lucrative that you're running it all the time, I feel, but it is against the Agito, an affliction that works against a lot of bosses regardless of their element, so maybe this is more of a consideration than I'm giving it credit for. And then lastly, these two, each with a different affinity. This one actually has the Staff's Boon that gives you additional buff time. These are super interesting. So Draconic Resurrection, if the user's HP falls to 0 and they have 50% or more of the Dragon Gauge, it consumes 50% of the gauge and then revives the user. It does not consume one of the revives for the quest. So this has some potential implications for auto battle, but specifically auto without shapeshifting turned on, because you have to actually have that much Dragon Gauge or more in order to even use this to begin with. The amount of HP restored, I think, should go up, although I'm looking at this and trying to think about what gets better when it gets to level 3. Mine are not at level 3 yet, so that is something that I would need to go check on the wiki. But I think that something would get better, because usually these types of prints get better over time. And then this one provides stun res via the affinity. So yeah, this is a really interesting one. It's also a Pipple-centric print. If you read the description, I guess this is like Pipple's tree. Is this about Pipple's birth and origin? No, it's about a gathering of Pipples. So yeah, gonna have to read the lore on that one once I get it unbound and everything. But overall, some pretty interesting options. I think that these are less of a priority. Like, if you have some of the skill damage prints, that's good. If you already had built up some of the Sword Psalm prints or the critical rate 4-strike Lance Affinity print, that's pretty good. I'm going to work on these, but it's not going to be as fast because Lilith is infinitely more autoable than Jaldabaoth, especially as a non-Gala Leonidas person. But yeah, I think that these are really interesting. Probably not going to prioritize them that highly until I really see somebody putting them to a use that is mind-blowing or does something that I didn't think was possible without them. But I think I'm going to go for the skill haste here and this skill damage, and then probably the Storm Lash, and then get the Sword Psalm and start off by just getting one max unbound copy, and then slowly I'll work on more copies later. One of the nice things is I think you should definitely start with like unlocking the weapon slots first, the Wyrmprint slots. So I've done this for I think like 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 9 or 5 out of 9 of these so far, where I have all 3 slots. I haven't done this for all the weapon types though, so I'm going to start with this because you can just use your Lilith prints and they're pretty good, right? 20% skill damage here and there, the Sword Psalm effect. So you can start by using those Lilith prints as well. So if you already have a nice collection of prints, then just by unlocking the additional slots, you're able to use some of what you've already collected, which I think is a pretty nice feature too. So anyway, y'all, I think that is going to do it for today. This was a fun look at this month in Dragalia Lost. Hope you enjoyed the bonus commentary on Jaldabaoth. I know it's been a while in this video, so we're going to call it a day. Let me know what you're thinking about this month in Dragalia Lost, as well as the new endgame content in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you as always for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.